Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Velan Hawkins, and I am here sharing another Just One Thing for Health. Let's talk about it interview. This is where we're sharing success stories of everyday people just like you and me, people who turn to a whole foods, plant-based diet and lifestyle and change their eating to change their lifestyle, to regain, reclaim, and live a new, healthy, vibrant life that honestly, we were afraid we may have lost. So again, I'm Velan Hawkins, your healthy living advocate and someone who's on a similar journey as many of our guests and you. And I just love bringing these interviews to you. You can find out more about me, about our programs, about everything that we're doing on our website. Just go to justonethingforhealth.com, and we invite you to like our Facebook page at Just One Thing for Health. Today, I'm excited because we get to talk with Robinson-Feldman. I was stressed. Okay, because she was at a point of such concern that she made a drastic change for her and put her on a path of health and wellness, and she is doing something for people's lives. And I just want to say, I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for allowing me to tell my story, and if it can help some people, it'd be great.
Absolutely. So, Alexis, tell us, what was life like that got you to the point where you decided to take such a big step as getting bariatric surgery?
Um, Basically, what happens to me happens to a lot of women. They are married. I didn't marry really young. In my early 20s, I married, and then I got divorced in like my early 30s. And you kind of let yourself go. When you get married and you have a child, and my child happens to be handicapped. He has autism and a traumatic brain injury, so that was some more added stress. And so you just don't take care of yourself, especially when you have kids who are in special needs. You're usually taking care of them before you're taking care of you. So having done that for such a long time, and once I got divorced, it was like, okay, time to focus on me and him. And going back to the doctor, my doctor was like, listen, you really need to do something because you're overbeat, you're obese, and you have other factors. You're pre-diabetic, and diabetes runs rampant in my family. My father had it, his father, generational. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, all those things run in the family, and I was just following the pattern of everyone else who's just eating and not really taking good care of themselves. And so the doctor was like, listen, you have to do something. And I did do something. I did lose weight, but it wasn't enough. So I had to do more. And that's when I made the decision. My doctor said, listen, we can do gastric bypass surgery. It's going to help. We see that you're trying, but you need the extra. It's going to help you. So I said, you know what? I took time. I read up on it. I studied. I'm one of those people who, you tell me something, I'm reading everything about it. And I said, you know what? This might actually help. And so I took the plunge and I got it done.
Well, I have a picture here that I want to share with everyone because I think it is a true example of what can happen when you decide to take that path, losing 135 pounds immediately. And, you know, even today, so how long ago was that?
That was almost the first picture that you see as 216. That's me as when I was at my biggest. And that was still another two years before I actually had the gastric bypass. So that first picture is very representative of where I was at, at that 300 or something. And by the time I got 2 years later, I'd lost weight, but like I said, I hadn't lost enough. So I was still up in that upper twos, level of having still those physical issues, with the blood pressure and diabetes and everything else. So by the time, once I got it done, as you can see in the middle picture, that was me after I had lost all that weight down to when, and what went away? Everything. I was no longer pre-diabetic. And my cholesterol came normal. My blood pressure was normal. I was more active. I did more stuff. I didn't feel as tired. It was a wow thing for me, because I struggled with my weight all my life, as many people have. You go from when you're in public school, middle school, high school, and I've always just been told I was heavy, I was fat, I was heavy. And that kind of thing sticks with you. Even if you're not necessarily that heavy, but eventually it goes to the point that you become that heavy because you've been told you that heavy for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So getting back to the point when I wasn't that heavy was like, oh my gosh. And in doing that, I said, I don't want to go back to being heavy, as that heavy, or not even so much as heavy as being unhealthy, because that was the big issue. Not so much that I was heavy, but I was unhealthy at that.
Right.
And so you want to get back there. I was healthier, yes. Was I completely happier? So yes and no, because then you're restrictive. You're on a restrictive diet.
I was going to ask, what did you experience after that? What changes did you have to make in your life because of that?
Well, when you have gastric bypass surgery, the one thing that's constant is you always need supplementation. You have to always have vitamins, because the one that I got, they cut your small intestine, and your small intestine is where a lot of your nutrients get absorbed. And because I don't have a piece of that, now I don't absorb it as well. So I have to have vitamins, supplements every day, because if I don't, I'll be deficient. The other thing is, when you do that starting, you are on an extremely restrictive diet. You can't eat everything. A lot of things that you eat will make you sick, physically sick. So you really have to completely change your eating, because you just get sick. So that is what kind of helps facilitate all that weight loss and that change. But eventually those things, except for the vitamins, the sickness and stuff, they go away. So if you don't change your lifestyle, you will go back to eating the way you used to, and you can gain that weight back.
Because
And
that's
that's
what
why
you
it's
know.
important for
Yeah.
you to change your lifestyle.
Yeah. So and we'll come back to this point in just a moment. I want to just jump back to before the surgery. What type of preparation, nutrition-wise, psychologically, what type of preparation were you actually provided prior to the surgery?
It was pretty basic. At that time, they weren't as strict as they are now about it. So, but I still had to see a psychiatrist to make sure I was mentally ready, because there would be big changes. I did have to go through a course with the doctor. He did like a whole conference about, what to expect and things like that. But for the most part, once you got through that and you got through this is how you have to eat kind of thing, they did like kind of give you a dietitian to kind of sort of tell you. But that was for right after surgery. Like, you're going to have to eat like this right after surgery. For the long term, not so much. But for that right after surgery, because that's really important, they gave you like dietary help for that. But if you didn't read a lot, like I said, I'm a reader. So I will read and research. But if you don't really do that, it wasn't a lot of it you got to figure out for yourself, I want to say.
Okay. Okay.
And even today is some of that. You got to kind of figure it. Even if they tell you, you still kind of got to figure it out for yourself and how it works in your lifestyle.
And I know, because we've talked, that is one of the reasons why you have been so excited about being a My Health, My Priority facilitator, because experiencing this, you've seen both on the front end and the back end of surgery, what may be missing and what you as an integrative nutrition health coach can bring to supplement and enhance what it is that bypass surgery patients actually need. And with that, looking at today, one of the things that we all are so enamored with is the stresses of daily life, right?
Mhm.
How do you manage after a surgery like this and being mandated to change your eating and looking at, if you're taking care of a family, if you're doing certain things, how do you not fall into the patterns of the past?
It is so not easy. It's so much easy to fall into those patterns because a lot of the things that got you to that weight still could be stressors for you to get you back to that weight. So you really have to um, work that out with yourself, because if you don't work out the stressors, you will go back. You will go back. It's just because those things are so constant. So that's when, for me, it was just, okay, I know what my triggers are now. Before I wasn't like sure, so I didn't like, but now I'm mindful of them. So I'm like, okay, I know why I'm suddenly feeling this way. Let me do something else to countermand that. Maybe, I do like yoga. I do like calming music, essential oils, meditation. I wasn't doing those things before, but as I changed my lifestyle and got more into it, I like, oh yeah, this really helps. It's not just some guru. It really helps you,
Mm-hmm,
you know,
mm-hmm.
trying to get through those humps. And finding that out, and like I said, knowing what my triggers are really helped me. Really helped me. And you still have the fluctuations, you still have, no one's perfect. So they have their ups and downs and things that they kind of go through and still have to figure out. But now you kind of have tools in your toolbox that you can say, oh, okay, if you slide, you can come back and say, okay, I know where it was. I know why it happened. I know what space I was in. Let me get back to the space I know I want to be in, and then continue forward. And I think a lot of times what stops people is that they make a mistake or they go back and they do something and then they're like, oh, and they so down on themselves that they add more stress, which only facilitates the problem that they had in the first. It's still the same stress. And now they have more stress because they feel bad and it's just a cycle. So you have to break that.
And with what you have learned as far as your integrative nutrition health certification and the tools that you've put in your own personal toolbox, how are you helping people today?
Um, right now, I talk to people all the time. And I will say, I have this gift of people will tell me stuff and they'll say, I don't know why I told that to you. But I like that because it gives me insight and I can say, oh, I've been through, or I know someone who's been through experiences, and say, well, this is something that they tried, or this is something that I've tried to help the situation. And it might work for you or it might not. But it's something, it gives you something. Sometimes you just need that little something to say, oh, it's a new way of thinking for you that you never thought about because you're in the situation and somebody's on the outside looking in and saying, well, if you maybe do this just a little bit differently, you might have a different outcome. It might be what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in health coaching, that's what a health coach does. It's not so much that they go in there and tell you you need to do this and do that and do this, but they give you another perspective to look at your situation, and then for you to come to say, wow, I never looked at it like that. Maybe I need to do something different. Because if you do it, it's more effective than if I just tell you you need to do this and do that. You'd be like, well, who is she to tell me what I need to do? She don't
I
know my
agree.
situation. But it's not for me to know the situation, it's to know to look at it differently and say, have you thought about this? Have you
Mm-hmm.
thought about that maybe if you just do this one thing to change, maybe that'll facilitate other changes. which is what the Just One Thing for Health does. It tells you just do one thing. You don't have to do everything. Just do one. And
Yes.
drink more water. Just drink more water. I mean, how simple can that be? It's hard for some, but I need to drink more water. If you drink more, if you only drink one thing of water a day and you drink two, you drink more water. You know, the little battles that you do will facilitate the bigger things that you're trying to get to. And then you realize, oh, I done drunk like 5 glasses of water today. Wow, it'll just come to you.
Yes.
And that's what we want. That's what I want as a health coach for it to do, because once you do that, it's your lifestyle now. It's not about me. It's just something that you're mindful of and you'll just do.
And, you know, when people undergo something as drastic as gastric bypass surgery, it actually is in numerous ways trauma to the body. And the brain reacts to that. And with the research and studies, the evidence that research and studies have shown us now is that the gut has a brain. And so if you're cutting out part of the brain, there is going to be some physical response to that. And one of the things that I love and how you said what you just finished saying is that there are ways for us to impact and make changes behaviorally. And that comes from the connection of the head brain to actually the heart brain as well as the gut brain. And bringing them into alignment means that the person that you're coaching can, in fact, say, I hadn't thought about it that way. And that is the job of a coach, is to show you not just another perspective, but another means of shifting to complete the change. So the perspective is the eyes on it, but then a coach can also add, and this is how you can do that. Because drink more water, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that one of our facilitators, Marjorie Leon, brought when we were talking about habits was, you know, just add something to what you're doing to make it different. And we've all heard about, you know, change the hand that you're brushing your teeth with, and that changes things in your brain. And she brought to the table, do something different. And I was like, so what do you mean? You know, because a lot of times a person who is looking at making these changes doesn't really have the tool yet. And so you're also providing the tool. And I love what you're doing, because you look at the food that they're eating, the exercising that they are or are not doing, as well as the conversations that they're telling themselves, right? So talk to us about some of the conversations that you actually experienced adjusting or are helping clients to focus on, to adjust, because it is in that alignment that the conversation happens or changes. What are some of those conversations you've been exposed to or experienced?
One that I always sticks with me is I know someone who she didn't have gastric bypass surgery, but she did have some weight loss surgery. And she also got sick with it, which kind of made it even worse in certain instances, you know, because she was in the hospital for way longer than she thought she needed to be. And she should have been. But, you know, these things happen when you have surgery. But what happened was, she didn't realize her aversion to food was what it was. Because she always thought she was heavy, she didn't think she had an aversion to food. But actually, especially when she started losing the weight, she found out she really doesn't like food, even though she was eating it, because the reason why she was eating food had nothing to do with food. It had to do with control. She can control her food, but she couldn't control other things, which can be a really main thing with a lot of people. The one thing you can control is what you eat. So when you don't have any other control, your food becomes the one that you can. And you either control it when you eat too much, or you control it when you eat too little. So she went from one spectrum of eating too much to the next spectrum of eating too little. And then we had to have the conversation, is like, well, why is it that you have that aversion to food? Because you found out that she doesn't think of food as nourishment. She thinks of food as either a comfort or something to make her, or something like a punishment, but not for something that's nourishing her body. And so that's what we're had to talk about, and like, well, okay, fine, I can get that, but let's think about it in this perspective. You want to get better, and for you to get better, you need to nourish your body. And you can't always nourish it minimally. You have to give it what it needs to do so that you can heal. So if you want to continue healing, what is the one thing you're going to have to do? You're going to have to feed it. Now, the thing that we are working on is you want to feed it the proper stuff.
Right.
You want to make sure you're feeding it what it needs. And there's a lot of elimination stuff going on, which would happen when you have weight loss surgery. So now we're navigating that. What you still have to go through some trial and error about what foods, because one of the other things that happen that a lot of people don't know about, when you have those kind of surgeries, your taste buds change. Things that you liked or could tolerate, you can't tolerate anymore. Like for me, I cannot have stuff too sweet. If anything's too sweet, I can't eat it. It'll either make me sick, or I just be like, I just can't eat it. Some people go through with it if they'll taste the slightest amount of salt. If you put just a dash of salt in it, before when they had salt on everything, they lost the weight. Now you put it just dash, they can't eat it. So that's another thing that happens. So that's one of the things you have to navigate. Well, what is it that now you used to could eat that may not have been necessarily totally unhealthy for you, but you can't take now because you just don't like it. Everything has changed. A lot of changes go on with your body, besides the fact that you lose weight when you have these surgeries, and especially mentally. A lot of changes happen mentally when you have these surgeries that people don't always talk about and connect. One of the big things is addictive behavior. Like people don't realize how if they're addicted to food and now you don't have the food, you start being addicted to other things. So now your addictive behavior, you didn't notice you had addictive behavior because a lot of people don't associate addictive with food. They associate addictive with drugs or alcohol or those other things, but they don't associate it with food. But you do have an addiction for food too. And when we move that by having those kind of surgeries, though that addiction is still there. So now it finds something else to go with. Some people shop more. I know me, I started shopping like crazy. And I was like, wait a minute, I can't, okay. But I realized I came to the realization that I'm shopping more because I'm eating less. And sometimes you think we shop more because, now we're thinner now, so we can fit different stuff. But that could be it too. But that also could be a sign of your addictive behavior shifting to something else. That's another thing you have to keep in mind, that talking with someone can help you move through that. Because that's not something that you would it's subtle. You wouldn't necessarily realize it. But when you talk with someone and you can like, oh, yeah, gives you that aha moment.
Which is why I am so excited about you bringing your expertise into facilitating a group, especially a group of women and or men who have gone through this type of experience, because you do recognize and empathize and can help educate them as to what it is that they can expect moving through this process. And I want our audience to know too that the program that we're talking about is the My Health, My Priority program. And it is a 12 weeks to wellness program, which Alexis is going to be facilitating groups of individuals in. So take note, if you're interested, a group of 10 is on the board. Enrollment is open right now. But even more than that, when we're talking about the stories of everyday people, you are one of these people. I am one of these people. I remember looking up one day at age 14, and I know I was 50, 60 pounds overweight. And my question was, how did this happen, Lynn? And I got a download that I had an older brother, and he was a year older than me. But it was back in the day when, you know, the girls stayed inside and they did the cooking and the cleaning, and the boys got to go out and ride their bikes and run and climb trees and everything. And I believe that's when I became most rebellious, because I was like, this is not what I was born to do. And so um, I looked up and I happened to mention to my mom, it's because I don't get out. I walk to and from school and that's it. I can't, you know, but I was also trying to compete with my brother, who was eating whatever he wanted to eat as a healthy 15-year-old. And I'm trying to compete with that. And I'm not burning off the same amount of calories. And you know, their experience is so much like that across the board, that people look up, and whether they're 14, 15, or 35 or 45, and they're trying to figure out, how did this happen? I remember in grade school doing cartwheels and, you know, just being this vibrant kid, and now I'm like struggling just to move, and health issues. And what do I do? This is the place where you learn what to do, and you learn how to do it with support and accountability. I think that's a piece of it too. Would you starve yourself if you knew that you were part of a program where it wasn't about starving, but about learning about the foods that really your body wants and loves and can utilize? And with that, Alexis, tell our audience, you know, you've probably thought about it and we've talked about it so often, and you said it a couple of times today. If there was one thing that you would kind of recommend someone to start with or to do to change their health, what would that one thing be for you?
To move, to get moving, because once you move, that helps a whole bunch of stuff go. If you're sitting, you're very sedentary, if you're not just getting up and just, even if you're just getting up and stretching when you wake up, just wake up and arms up, arms out, arms down, you know, get yourself going and flowing, getting your body moving. It works wonders. Just that. It's not a lot. It's a simple thing. It takes 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, some people are like, well, how do I stretch? And they start looking up online how they're supposed to stretch. All you have to do is just put your arms out and give your muscles some room, you know, give your legs some room. You've been laying down, give your stomach some time to get moving, you know, and just to move. Just move. Take
I
that
love
walk. You know, park a little further down in the parking lot when you go to the store, and walk to the front.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it's
And
harder when you
that'd be
got
the
kids though, because sometimes you just want to park real close so you can just get them in the car. But
Well, those are energy burners as well. So kids will make you work for it so
mhm.
often. But that is definitely part of it. And, you know, couple that movement with eating the right food to fuel your body. Not only do you drop weight, you know, and we're talking the possibility of dropping weight permanently when you're eating this type of diet, when you're converting to this lifestyle. You shop differently, you shop the grocery store differently. You know, if you're spending all of your grocery store time in the middle aisles of the grocery store, it's time to learn how to shop on the exterior where the fresh fruits and vegetables are. And if that's, you know, you got an issue of time frozen, steam those things. And, you know, there's so many alternatives. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the program is a lot of what I'm saying now, a lot of what Alexis has brought to the conversation is really about what you can do, the how. You know, it's, I want to do this, but how do I do this? We're giving you the how to do it. And then there's so many other things. I know you mentioned supplements. Supplements are something that is key. I had a physical a couple of weeks ago, and the doctor said, everything looks good except you're low on vitamin D. I'm like, and would I have known that? Not so much, because sometimes you don't feel that stuff. So encouraging people to get their blood work done and stuff like that. If you're going through like bypass surgery, you're going to have that stuff, but do you know it? Do you understand it? Alexis, tell us how you can help people to understand some of the things that they're seeing when they're actually having the reports, or the things they want to understand to get those kinds of reports for themselves.
I definitely recommend you get it. Like, I'm anemic. I'm very anemic all the time. Doesn't matter what I almost know what I do, how I do it. So I have to get those things done, because you feel anemia is one of the few ones that you do feel. You feel when your iron is, but not always. Like, I feel it because my iron drops so low that I have to feel it. I had to go in the hospital a couple of times because my iron is so low. And it did, and that's one of the things that got compounded having got bypass surgery, because I always had low iron. But then I had surgery, and that helped it even worse, because your iron, where your iron kind of absorbs, I don't have. So those things, and talk with your doctor. Say, listen, it's not hard to say, I don't understand what this means and why. I don't understand why what do I need this for and how. A lot of your fruits and vegetables, you get a lot of what you need. And if you're on a plant-based lifestyle, you kind of pump your body up for that, But because of the world we live in, everything is not as nutritious as it used to be. So that's why you usually need supplementation. Not so much because people who eat vegan all the time, who only eat plants, they still need stuff that they got to supplement, because the ground is not the same. So you always need to know where you're at. And when you know where you're at, then you know what you can have, what you need. You also need to know what you're predisposed to, because there's some things that no matter what you do, it's going to be hard because you're predisposed to it. And once you know what you're predisposed to, then you can take better action to facilitate more. Okay, I think I could have gut issues, and let me take more enzymes for that. Or let me eat more probiotic stuff that will give you good gut health, so that you can, have that out and won't have that issue maybe down the line, So those things are important, but the only way you're going to find that out is if you go to a doctor and you get tested, and and say, he'll tell you, well, you have this, this, and this. And then if you don't know it, say, I don't understand, ask your doctor. I don't understand. Doctors have a bunch of stuff that they can print out for you and say, okay, this is side effects, but if you don't ask them, they'll just give you the surface. Well, this, and this. But if you say, well, I need to know a bit more information, they'll be apt to say, well, we can give you a printout. And they'll give you a printout of more information. And then you could do more research on your own. One thing about your health, and that's the one thing I learned about my health through this whole journey, you have to be proactive. You can't just let a doctor say, yeah, this is what we're going to do, and then go back to him and be like, yeah, but now I have this issue. Well, he's like, well, yeah, that's possible. I've had many doctors say, well, yeah, you could get that. And why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. We are obligated to tell you this stuff. And what we're obligated to tell you, we tell you. Other stuff, it remains on what's important. It's not as important to them as it is to you, because it's your body. So you have to be proactive about what you need and what you need to know, so that you can make better choices for your health. And that's the one thing I really like to stress to people. Say, if it don't feel right, say something, because and doctors are known to make mistakes. That's why they pay high insurance. So therefore, once you know, it don't have to be a battle, but it has to be that you are proactive in saying, okay, this is what I need for my health. Why? Break it down,
Love it. So for our audience, I hope you walked away with quite a bit here, but two things in particular. One, move. Get into the movement. Stretching in the morning, stretching before bed at night, just move more during the day. And then be proactive about your health. Ask your doctor those questions. And if your doctor can't answer them, find a source where you can get those answers. And if you need validation or some additional support, find us. We're happy to help you answer those questions. And in doing so, I want you to know that you can find us Let me just do this real quick. Come on. You can find us, go and like our Facebook page. Find our Facebook page. You'll find Alexis there along with many others in our family, facilitators and Hippocrates docs at health advocates, healthy lifestyle advocates. And you will be able to ask your questions and share your story. We're doing stories of, like I said, everyday people, which includes you. Do you have a good story? Would you like to tell your story to our audience? Then find us, and we're happy to help you to tell your story, because this is a movement. The whole food plant-based lifestyle movement is going strong, it's going long, and it really is about this. Let's talk about it. Is about the success stories of everyday people who've used food as medicine and adopted a whole food plant-based lifestyle. It's changing lives, and it can change yours too. It can enhance yours if you're already doing well. So the saying goes, change your eating and change your life. That's what we want your life for the better. That's what Thank you so much for joining us. We're sharing incredible stories, and we are not done. We want to share yours too. Thanks, and we will talk with you soon. Bye for now. And thank you, Alexis.
Thank you.